Hi guys, thank you very much for joining me. Polina here, coming to you from a wonderful eco home here in San Roque in the region of San Martin, Peru. It's very nice, and I just wanted to show you around a little bit. We're staying in this beautiful bungalow, and there's nothing quite like it. So the walls are made from clay and earth and straw, and there's a straw roof, and everything is organic, and it's a very, very beautiful feeling just being inside a house that is made in such a way. Incredible. Starting a little page about sustainable housing soon, probably. I'm just going through some old work, and I will be presenting to you my songs. I have 9 albums and another 80 songs, acoustic songs. So it's gonna be an incredible feat because I've been kind of keeping this undercover. And there is a great variety of sound and meaning and hidden meaning as well. So I'll be presenting these songs probably closer to the end of next month. If you are signed up to my newsletter, you'll probably get a memo. Also, yes, opening spaces for people coming to Peru to take plants. I'm also contemplating doing a channel directly for ayahuasca and other types of plant use. So if you're interested in this, there will be links in the next coming videos to these things. Anyway, this video is about the full moon that is coming up in a couple of days on the 13th of July, and I'll talk about the period a little bit after as well, so that you get more in this reading as the moon is almost here. So this full moon will be conjunct to Pholus in Capricorn. This is a very, very nice neutral window, I think, for most of us who have been doing the best we could be doing. And for those of us that are struggling and they don't know how to make ends meet or how to take that next leap or how to even survive the next stage of their experience, is going to be very neurotic. So your nervous system, how you feel about your life and how you feel about your body, if you do or do not feel confident, will really depend on the work that you've done previously, because Capricorn is an elder sign. Sometimes if we haven't prepared ourselves for the next phase of events, the next phase of our life, it could be a very, very easy thing to judge and very, very easy thing to get aggressive or mindy about things. But the most we can do now is basically understand and suffice. So I do understand, I do recognize that some people are going to have quite a hard time with finances also because of the collapsing cryptocurrency market, which is something that I talked about years ago, actually, about Bitcoin and everything like that. So that is already starting to happen. I don't believe that it's very bad. It's not going to be very, very bad till much later. So still kind of sort of semi-safe, so don't worry, still got a little bit of time there. But yeah, there is a very, very interesting feeling of crumbling and feeling afraid of that crumbling. So to me, Pholus, very close to the MC there, represents meanings and big game, big karma, or big activity, something very, very meaningful, or something very, very erratic, but at the same time with a very strong root system happening inside your body or happening in your world, in your universe. It's a very, very important time right now. It's a very interesting time capsule to take care of others, to bring things up to speed. It's very, very important to be up to scratch, to know it. If you are meaning something, if you are in a meaningful place for somebody else, to accept it and understand it. If you have a lot of meaning, a lot of soul in your relationship, in your private life, if you have a very deep sentimental partnership, or if you really do a lot of work and you really understand how much work you've been doing or that you've done, it's a very, very gorgeous window for us also to understand that we win. So this is very, very powerful also, I think, for me, like say, considering how much time I've spent, like say, on music or other pursuits, and like at the moment it looks like it is shaping up. So this is where the dough has been brewing for such a long time. Cancer creates a feeling as if your life is a dough, and all of these different ingredients, like flour and sugar and salt and baking soda, anything like that, are just all emulsified into this one grand chunk of time, basically. And here we have something that's been long brewing, coming up to the surface for some people, or a very big, very, very epic backlog of karma that you've got to go through before you're capable of doing anything, basically. So right now, as it stands, I mean, for me, what I'll have to be facing during this window, yes, I'm brewing my first batch of Chirixananga, which is a very interesting plant from Peru. It's a very beautiful plant and is going to help me grow my nervous system anew. So that's something that I'm going through. And another way of looking at it, yes, so that's like a way to shed karma. So I'm pushing myself, I'm initiating myself to shed karma slightly forcedly. So I'm forcing a karma change during this time. You don't have to do this, but if you consider, like, say, if you're having a neurological issue, you have some distrust of your body or something's going wrong, it's a very interesting idea to definitely consider initiation and changing your body. So sometimes we think it is somebody else or the external factors that mess us up. It is the government, it is politics, it is this person, that other person, but sometimes we just have to do something inside and take care of ourselves from the inside out. So one of the things that I'm very interested in is, of course, cleansing and doing things with the body. So sometimes if you feel like you have a backlog of karma, it's a very good idea to do at least an intestinal cleanse. There is senna leaf, of course, there's neem, there's just garlic sometimes. There's garlic and ginger and hibiscus tea and things like that. There's pineapple. Pineapple is a great cleanser. There is also aloe vera. Other things like that that can help you bring about a feeling of fortunate events in your life and a feeling of just being fortunate in yourself because you feel better. So sometimes if you're under a lot of pressure and there's a lot of aggression and a lot of karmic backlog, it is very important to see things as easy and as smooth as they can be and not to question life anymore. So there is always an emulsifying smoothness to Cancer. And Cancer this time around, this year around, is really, really helping people emulsify and get there quicker and faster. So if you are doing anything, you might get a very quick result. That's something that's very exciting for me. If you have not been able to go through a certain window or pass a certain phase or stage, if you have not been able to see that person yet or to make that contact or to get that question answered, it is answered now probably, or it is going to be. So I feel that the change is inevitable. I feel that some wheels are incredibly aligned and in motion for most of what is happening in the world right now. So it's kind of like being on ice. It is kind of like ice skating, figure skating. So things have a certain type of smoothness and emotionality to them, and sometimes things can happen quick. So for this reason, I would also advise caution if you are not entirely in control of your life and you're feeling like, for example, you're suddenly in a new relationship with a person you know you won't enjoy later, or if you're, for example, taking care of something or somebody that you are not really feeling fully good about, it's important that you really check this out, because sometimes things can happen really fast. It's like 2 or 3 weeks and then this person moves into your house. So there is a very, very fast lane for quite a lot of people, and those epic souls that are willing and open to take things to the next level very quickly. I don't think this is entirely for you maybe necessarily, but I do definitely trust that many things that happen during these types of times are a climax to something that has happened long before. So to me, it feels that this is a very climatic window, say, for example, for my music that I've been making since 2012, 2013. So that's really cool for me to get all of that out, because I was too shy and too bland and not confident enough to take all of that stuff out. So that's interesting. Maybe it is something that has happened a long time ago that can be healed. For example, a toothache or something that has been disorganized in your body for a long time. Maybe it is something that you've done ages ago that is now going to pay you or come to a head or come to a certainty. So it's a very, very interesting time to get that lump sum result. Like, for example, for me, I've been looking for an eco home for ages. I've been looking for a house that is completely out in the bush somewhere, you know. So that's been very, very nice in my case, just to be able to understand that this is doable and likely now. This is not something that I've done just overnight. This is something that I've had planned and kind of put into motion or put into my manifestation wheel for such a long time. So sometimes the result is not necessarily right. It is more like a product of many different results, many tribes, maybe family karmas and vulnerabilities, and also volatilities, because I don't think it just takes the good. I think it takes many different aspects, many different karmas to solve and put things into perspective and to manifest things on the whole. So it's not just about being a good girl and like saving money, or it's not just about trying so hard to put things together. But for some people, it definitely is, and it has been for a long time going. So I think the main thing is to be exact. I think that one of the most wonderful things that we can do, and one of the most wonderful energies it can be during this time, is basically to let things be as close to center as possible, allowing things to be as tight and as narrow as possible. So if you can imagine, you've been gathering things for a long time. You've been putting a picture of your life together for ages. So all the ingredients have been gathered sometimes for 20 or 30 odd years. And then eventually they are basically ready now to be put into a certain type of emulsified, whole and full energy. And this doesn't necessarily have to happen, but I do definitely trust that many of us, a whole bunch of us, would definitely benefit from doing things very, very quickly and honestly. And I think that many people need efficiency and clarity and a compact worldview in order to be able to put all of these ingredients together. So if you can imagine, you have all these herbs that you've gathered in the forest, and maybe you've been gathering herbs for many, many years, and now it's just about bundling them up properly and packing them into nice containers. It's about putting these products out ready to market. It's about making that brew finally, making that tea. It's about taking that ointment. It's about making that friend. It's about having people come around and look at what you've done. So this is also something that I'm noticing recently. Not everybody has access to something that you've got, and not everybody wants it. So that's the other side of the coin. Public opinion and people's view of you is very, very important during this time for some people. And some lucky people are beyond it, and maybe you have gotten over it just in time. So this is a very interesting way that it works. Like maybe you got over your trauma with people, with public opinion, just in time, and maybe it doesn't matter now for a very, very big reason. Maybe you have escaped that need to be somewhere just in time, and maybe if you were there, something bad would happen. So it's an interesting thing, as being steered towards and out of people's lives for a very, very big reason, and also a very, very big dream, also privacy and neurosis and all of that. That's coming to the surface right about now, especially for me. And I'm finding that it's really, really hard sometimes to control your impulse. When you definitely really care, it really shows. And when you definitely don't like something or somebody, it really shows too. So that do and don't is very, very strong for a lot of people, as Cancer at this point would have etched out a very, very clear picture. But it's all about wanting to receive and have more. So Eros and Ceres are close to the Sun as well as Mercury. It's a very, very quick gain that we're waiting for. We want a snappy, quick result. So it's like, I don't care how precious your collection is. I just want to see it fast. I want to hear it fast. I just had a friend actually come around yesterday to listen to some of my music, and he didn't care about really listening. He just wanted to look through it very fast, like rummage through it really fast. And that was also very helpful. It was a different stance on things, but like remember, like this is also people's past and their memories and their personal lives, you know. So sometimes we forget. I mean, I've had quite a lot happen in the last few weeks actually that has been pushing my timeline together very, very quickly. And sometimes it can lead to being very disjointed. It's like making that something fully, finally finished, like finalizing or finishing a sequence, making that thing that you wanted to make or doing that do. And then suddenly, when you look at it, it looks very, very much like fixed and packaged, and maybe it has a face. Or it's like a child, it's like a baby. So, for example, creating artwork for an album is very easy. To make a face for a brand, to put things into perspective. In terms of marketing and introducing, it is kind of like a baby in a way. So when things get distorted and awful in the end, it's got an exoskeleton. So we're looking at Capricorn and Cancer. Sometimes it is very, very, very soft on the inside and very, very strong on the outside, or the opposite, very strong on the inside, very soft on the outside, depending the way that you look at it. It is a game of contrasts. You know, like bones being hard on the inside and flesh being soft on the outside, or having a shell, you know, like a turtle, like animals. Certain animals have shells like crabs, and having very soft flesh inside. It's a very, very interesting divide also of that, of worlds in terms of what makes it, and who or what cannot yet have access to something today. So like what is and what isn't right, what is and what isn't proud, what is and what isn't correct within a certain ideology, group of people, or cause and effect. And sometimes it can be on both sides, you know. So like, for example, something about what you're doing or who you're becoming isn't noticed at all now, and it is not paid. Like it's just like a sudden glimpse of fear over there, you know, like, wow, I had no idea this would not sell, or this would not be packageable or marketable. But then other things can be incredibly packageable and marketable. And I would actually really take a look. So if you're an alchemist like myself, and you sometimes take a really long time to look over your product, whether you create your product or you rebrand other people's products, or you make a brand, or anything you're doing, sometimes alchemists, you know, they can do many different jobs at once. And this is a very interesting thing. If you do have hobbies also, as we are just walking out of the IC section of the chart, which is where the hobby sector is, you know, the third and fourth house, and to a degree, fifth house as well, in a way, but this is like mastery of a hobby in the fifth house. This is a very interesting way to really see what does and doesn't work. For example, just an example, you work with acupuncture, with psychology, a little bit of astrology, numerology, and that's it. But you also have like a little herbal brand, or you're doing like oils, and I don't know, you're promoting like health choices, like a healthy lifestyle. This is a very interesting thing to me when I'm actually putting my life together into a sequence. A certain thing will not be marketable. It just won't. Like, you're looking at a product, you're trying to put it together, you're trying to put a brand name to it, and it just can't. It can't. It will bounce back, you know, like something like, you know, say paying for a product online, and the money just bounces back. Or not able to contact a certain person, or not wanting to contact a certain person. This kind of thing happens. It's like it's not cohesive, or it's not true, or it can't come to a head yet, or it's not ready, it's not finished, it's not cooked, or it's not proud. And that's already happening in my life as well, and I'm understanding what for. It's like some things are just not coming together. They just can't. Like, even if you really wish them to, even if you really wanted to be at this party, even if you really try to be this person's friend, or if you really wanted to market this brand, it just won't do it. There's just something like, almost like it's written in the stars, you know. So when we have these things, we have to understand them and not abide by them. So for example, if you keep on butting heads, if there's just like no way of getting around things, if there's constant conflict or distance, like disassociation. If you can't get that thing done, and it's just like, I try and try and try, and I intend, and I want to, just don't bother with it. So this cohesive motion, this movement of Cancer has its own bubble. It has its own bubble and joy. And some of the time, these magic moments just can't be shared with certain people or friends, or you are not ready yet. So sometimes it's immaturity, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's like, I wish I could talk to this person, but every time I open my mouth, just the worst words come out. I don't know what this is. So this flow, going against the grain, try to take your attention out of things that are constantly distorting themselves or are just starting to, especially like, say, if you're in a new relationship and each time you talk about certain things, it just starts to fizzle. Anything you do, anything you say, anything that you make, it butts its head. So if you're butting heads, it's very important to understand where that is. And also coming back to business development and branding and providing services, understand where that is just not good enough for you, or it's just like fuzzy or fizzly, or it's just like, it just will not be as good as you want it to be. It can't be as good as you want it to be. It's like, no matter what, there's no way of sugarcoating this. Like, no matter what, no matter how far you've come in a certain progress, it just won't, will not. And then also there are things that are starting to be almost self-developed. It's like, I only did one sketch and that was the best sketch I've ever done, I think. Or like, I sang this one song and I think it spoke like the world and I don't need to do this again. It's amazing. So there is like a click. It's like having bones come into place again. So it's like a chiropractic appointment kind of thing. And you didn't have to do anything. It's like, after I looked around, or after I visited this person, or after I made love with this person, or after I experienced this, I just knew. So this incredible feeling of just like, I know now, it's absolutely fine. It is gorgeous as it is. I have absolute knowledge of myself on this level, or I have absolute understanding of how things work on this level. I feel that is exact. So some people, they don't even have to question themselves anymore, or ask about their lives, or try to kind of like close and open things, or sort of push energy about. It's a very, very easy joy. So like, I found that for myself, putting this material, I have seriously years of material since a long time ago, putting it into 9 albums of music. It was really easy, actually. It was really relevant. I just put it all together and there it was as one. And that was easy for me. That was easy enough, and it was good looking enough. And I've made these really funny album covers that I'll be posting. And it just made itself. You know, it's like, you just put it together and it clicks. And sometimes it is years of vulnerability, years of work, and not getting it right, actually, that gives you this power. Also coming back to the concept of the tiger year, the guru, the philosopher, the master, the teacher. I mean, sometimes you have to practice an instrument so much, you have to practice yourself and your heart so much. You've got to be so many people for so many reasons until you know how to do it. So coming back to this idea of mastery and how mastery finds you, it's like something happens and you're suddenly flying. So the world of study is gone, the world of a certain self-perception is gone, a world of understanding your intellect or understanding your body on a certain level is gone. It just collapses, and it's almost like experiencing a certain type of death or a certain type of finity in order to experience infinity. So that's where the previous boundaries and the previous concepts are gone, or they are starting to disappear, and you now have a completely different worldview or completely different system of self-coordination or behavior, or just like a very, very nice, neutral, or just a normal way in which you are now not needing to be so careful. You don't need to be so scared. You don't need to be so buggered up. It's a very, very important time, I think, for some people that have also done something to death and they didn't get an answer. So this is a very interesting time to understand why you have done it. And I think that on the good vibe, on a good note, it is very awesome time, as we have a certain type of Rubicon crossing happening in the next year or so. I definitely feel that it's a very good time to put your life in perspective and to understand what for I've been taking part in certain things. So if you're a very alternative person, and if you are very sometimes seen as an unfortunate person, you know, sometimes maybe your parents or peers or loved ones looked at you and your progress and they just said, what the hell are you doing this for? What for are you doing this? You're a fool. Or like, why don't you just do things like me? Like, why don't you do things my way? And sometimes it's very hard to explain to people why you do things a certain way. So blind alchemy, so this is where you're just basically creating without really any particular need to create even, you know, or if you are doing things in an alternative way, they can sometimes be very ugly and sometimes very futuristic. We do have North Node next to Uranus as a futurism that we are waiting for. That's what we're waiting for, that futurism and that next perspective of, you know, on the cruder like level, it's like, what is money, what is finance, what is love, what is relationships, where are we going to live, like where we're going to go. And sometimes some of us alchemists have had it right since we were kids. It was just so hard to face the future. It was so hard to really understand how infinite some of it is, you know, how very, very emotional, how very vast some of that knowledge or some of that information is. And that's why sometimes we kept things together under wraps. And, you know, anything from, like, say, making music to making your own bread to visiting sacred sites, ancient sites, to world travel, to anything. It's like you didn't know why you were doing it. And maybe it was quite messy in the process. You know, if you look at a workbook of an artist, sometimes it's just crap. Like, and it's very interesting because people will say, like, you know, wow, I had no idea you had all of that going on. And sometimes being emotionally understood or being understood through, you know, by what you do, what you represent here is a very, very big feat for some people, especially if you have been previously seen as somebody under the radar, somebody living in a totally alternative worldview or culture, and if you were not seen as anybody real or anybody proud for such a long time. So there's something, of course, that has obviously happened to me and a lot of other people I know, and I understand now why it had to happen. So I think that sometimes the body or the brain, it'll cover itself, like it doesn't want to be seen. So you know, coming back to Cancer and what is on the outside, what is on the inside, and we grow these treasures inside. We don't want anybody to know. Like, I don't want anybody to poke their head into my house, their face into my house and say things about my life. Like, I don't want anybody seeing me when I'm painting. But you know, something happens, like there is a crossing over Rubicon needed in the next while for humanity in general, and I think for each one of us in a way. And coming out of closets, you know, coming out of one way of life and walking into another, and that's where you understand, wow, the collections I had as a child fully make sense now, or like the way that I used to be as a 20-year-old person, my 20s or 30s, I actually see why I was that person. I see why I've done this, or I see what for I couldn't do that. So this is a very beautiful, bright window, I think, for all of us that didn't really fully see our magic, our own magic, for such a long time. And maybe we'll also have a dubious family history where people covered themselves up or they didn't want to know about even who they were, who they are. So like, this is a very interesting thing. I feel that there is an older, prouder family line coming out of your own. If you finally can see, that's what my mom was trying to do all this time and I thought she was eccentric. Or like, that's how come I was so sad when I was a teenager. Or like, that's why I didn't want to come to all the parties. That's how come I didn't see the point of it. Or like, that's how come I was single for such a long time. This is why I haven't yet had a child. It's a very, very interesting and important time of life to understand that all of those things we get really angry about, like I get angry about, say, my anxiety, my taste in music, the way that I wear my clothes, why I go here, why I go there, all the things. Like, so there's this big why that I feel can be very grounded and covered now. So I think that nature just says, don't worry, I got the answer for you, or don't you don't have to care, like I got you covered. Sometimes having things covered for us, that's very amazing. Somebody else taking care of something for you. If you're somebody that is always looking for ways to improve and is so used to doing things by yourself, especially if you're like one of those alternative people that nobody really fully ever got. And suddenly you might have somebody saying, hey, here, I have a story for you, or here, I will carry your bags, or I'll help you get that furniture into your house. It's a very, very interesting and lucky time, I think, for all of us to understand why also we weren't lucky when everybody else was lucky, or where everybody else set themselves up, we didn't want to set ourselves up. So alternative culture specifically, and new ways of life, Uranus North Node, and also a different worldview and a different tug of faith, and how people distribute their weight, how people distribute their time or their money, what people choose to do with their children, or how they choose to work with their collectives. And I also feel that for a lot of us who are not necessarily alternatively minded, there's going to be great use for things that we don't even know are special. So this is where you find things in your house you didn't even know could change the history of the world. I mean, this is where you innovate things by sheer accident, or you become absolutely free in some ways. I got to tell you, like, this is like random. So we moved into this little house here. I'll show you a little bit. This little house, and there's like a little kitchen there, right? So there's this little kitchen, and in the kitchen there is no fridge, and there is no gas stove. But I'm not sure if you can see, there's like a little blender and a kettle there, and that's all we have. And it's interesting because I've been making food using the kettle, and not the stove. So it's just blender and kettle. So for example, last night I made a beautiful eggplant dish with tomato sauce using entirely just the blender and the kettle. So I'm like boiling sweet potato inside the kettle, eggs inside the kettle, everything. So I'm like quite relieved because I never really liked fried foods. But I do have like a man in the house, so like, I can eat raw, but like I got a person, living with me, and I'd like them uh, to eat what they like. So, I've been making rice in the kettle. I've been making soup in the kettle, and that was really cool. And I actually understood how versatile the kettle is. So just like that thing that you used to heat up the water for tea and stuff. And it looks like I never really needed an oven or a stove at all. So that was cool. I really enjoyed that little finding. So alternative things, changing things around, having different eyes on things, accidentally innovating your life, accidentally being totally also lost with some things. Also notice, if you like, where do you have things bugging you? Like collections of stuff, things you thought you would need, ideas you thought you would need, people you thought you would need, energies that you thought you would work with for like a long time. Collections of junk, collections of furniture, I don't know, like people, situations, jobs. It's like I thought this would work, and it's a very big time of function as the moon is very close to the MC. It won't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't have to necessarily work, and that sucks. That really, really sucks. So here you have to stop and understand it. So this is like a little funeral sometimes. Wow, like I understand. It's like, wow, this is going to fall apart, and we don't have to go into the darkness, because I think that can get us weird. But sometimes you have to mourn something for a long time, unless you can cut it during this window. So also a very interesting window, not necessarily for you, but for some people, to have a big mourning and then suddenly just to be able to cut that energy out of your life. That is very, very hard, I think, for some people. So I'm taking Chirixananga for that. It's like a Peruvian plant. There is something else you can also do, is just stop, wait, listen, understand, realize, I don't want to. I don't want to. Well, that's interesting. It's like and that's okay. You know, so there's like a head-butting energy to any Capricorn moon. If you have Capricorn moon in your chart, you might know that feeling. It's like, I just don't care. I don't want to. I don't want to. And that is something very, very beautiful, I think, for all of us to realize and to not feel so weird about. Like sometimes also those other people, other results, it's always both ways. You know, it's like we think it's like them wanting to and us not wanting. It's always usually both ways, you know, so don't worry about it. It's like nature says, people don't need to do this anymore, or you shouldn't be there anymore. Don't do it. Like don't try so hard. And it's not about, oh, but I owe this person, but I should be nice. Try not to do that. So sometimes it is a little bit like that. So I think I'm going to finish the video on this point. Also, I'm going to take you outside just to show you where we live, just for fun, because I really enjoy it. So there is like a little bathroom outside. I will actually take you to the bathroom, well, close to the bathroom. There is a bathroom outside. That's the bathroom. It's really cool. And there's also like a hammock, the quintessential thing, the hammock. And I should probably show you a little bit of nature here. Nature is gorgeous. Yeah. And the little home. I think the reason why I'm showing this is because it's been such a long time coming for me, and I think my tribe, my family. Like these homes, I just love. Look, there's like a bedroom upstairs, two beds. Yeah, yeah, amazing. Like how simple this is. This is such a simple home. It, it's it's almost free. Like seriously, like it's so cheap to make and it's so versatile. And yeah, I think it's like the best place that I've lived. I really love it, and I've lived around the world. I've lived in many places in my life. So anyway, I think that's about it. It's a little loungy place. I think that's all I wanted to say. If you'd like to visit, you can visit. That's cool. There's a website. Of course, I have a website and all my work on there. I will be presenting the music stuff soon, I guess. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I hope it's been an interesting video, and I'll see you next time.